Thursday, the 19th of the 6th, 2025, meaning therefore that there are very many F1 centric threads, as always, which we need to pull. In the first instance, we'll talk about Toto, the boy who cried wolf, Mercedes upgrades. Is this a change, a paradigm shift, even in terms of their performance? George Russell chimes in on it too. We'll talk about Alonso rumour potentially to Alpine. So too, new tracks, Thai, potentially South Africa. And we will talk about Nico Rosberg in the last instance. And he's been chastising, very disparaging, but truth, harsh but fair as far as Scuderia Ferrari's circumstance. Toto, he said that he wasn't surprised at the uptick in Mercedes' performance. Well, I was. They've been rubbish for as near as makes no difference 1,000 years. They invested in 2022 and 2021, and how did that work out? They put all of their eggs in the 2022 new rule and reg set design philosophy, and it didn't work out for them because, for the avoidance of doubt, one of the oldest truisms in F1 history is that one bird in the hand defeat is greater, more valuable than two in the bush. Why didn't they focus on 2021? Unprecedented settings, some may say. An eighth for Sir Lewis, Carl Davidson, Hamilton. Since then, however, Mercedes have done one of these nothing but downticks in performance. Now, however, as at the Canadian Grand Prix, they've introduced a rear suspension to deal with their cooling. Here's what Toto said. We introduced a new rear suspension to improve the overheating problems at the rear. He continues, quote, we were not particularly sure about the results in Imola because they were worse than expected. The right thing to do, therefore, was to remove them and bring them back because we are convinced that this is the right direction. The correlation is difficult for us as well as the other teams. Oh, the humanity. We're still talking about correlation, but we will forgive them because all of a sudden Sir Lewis Hamilton has left and they've managed to give Andrea Kimi Antonelli and King George Russell of Kings Lynn, Norfolk, market leading cars. It's techie, this. I can't help but feel a little bit grudgeful the fact that Sir Lewis, the second that Sir Lewis steps away, they've built themselves a car, a formula capable of winning races and therefore championships. George Russell of Kings Lynn, Norfolk has chimed in on this too. Post the Canadian Grand Prix, he said there are a couple different things, that it's not all roses and daisies, and potentially the green shoots might flatter to deceive as far as Mercedes' ability to perform on other tracks coming forth. Let's say Austria as an example. Here's what George said. I thought it was quite interesting. There are three key tenets that will dictate the extent to which Mercedes can perform. In the first instance, the nature of the track, high speed, low speed, what's the predominant, what's the most frequently occurring track challenge at that particular track. Is it a Monaco, let's say, low speed, medium duration turns, that's the characterization most frequently occurring? Or is it Spa Francorchamps, high speed, short duration settings? So too, in the second instance, you've got to talk about the nature of the track as far as its elevation. Is it contoured? Is it hundreds of meters as far as elevation, Spa Francorchamps settings, or is it very, very flat? That has to play a part because Mercedes doesn't do well, just like Red Bull historically, at contoured tracks. In the third instance, deg versus wear, and they are two different things. When we're talking about deg, we're talking about the exterior of the tyre. Wear is how hot or cold the interior of it gets. At the Canada Grand Prix, George Russell says deg is never an issue, and that's what Mercedes struggle with. The McLaren is so quick at the altar of being able to solve for, no, mitigate for the rate at which their tyres deg. It didn't get that opportunity at Canada because it's all high speed to low speed. There's no challenging medium duration, medium to high speed turns, and that has to matter. You will see the difference when we get to an Austria or a Spa Francorchamps, because they are Jekyll and Hyde as far as automotive pugilistic challenges are concerned. In the second instance, oh, and by the way, Fernando Alonso to Alpine to reunite with Fabio Briatore, to leave the boys and girls at Aston Martin potentially. How do you know? Well, in the first instance, there's a lot of talk around people moving to Aston Martin. Alonso told you as much, that it's a very low probability outcome that he ever gets to drive alongside Maximilian Verstappen. Why? Because there's a chap over there called Lawrence Stroll, and he has a son called Lance Stroll who drives for the team. If there is one driver at Aston Martin who's dispensed sensible then, it will not be based on meritocracy. Alonso's been roundly outperforming Lance Stroll. Lance Stroll has been outdoing himself as far as bad records. He is the one who has the best record, if indeed not getting out of Q1 is a thing. That's Lance Stroll. Alonso's been doing bits, not winning races, of course, but does he have the machinery? I would argue that Alonso desperately wants to stay at Aston Martin to 2026 to roll the Adrian Newey dice even, last airbender. But I think Lawrence Stroll will have different ideas. It will be either of George Russell or Maximilian Verstappen in that car alongside Lance Stroll in 2026. It will not be Fernando El Plan Alonso. Though he wishes to continue with Aston Martin as an ambassador potentially, I think he'd be prioritising a drive chat. Fabio Briatore is his old mate, his manager for the longest time. Of course he will be looking to drive alongside him again. 2005, 2006, it was under Fabio where he won his championships back to back and saw off a dragon, a fire-breathing dragon in Michael Schumacher. Saw him into retirement even. Oh, and by the way, lots of talk about new tracks. Thai and South Africa. Thai have launched a 1.something billion, I want to say 1.2, 1.3 billion dollar campaign with a view to get themselves an F1 track. For there is financial resource that comes with. It's techie. Then techie things, all very political. So too South Africa. Kyalami has been a discussion point for the longest time, and these are ramping up now. F1, as far as F1 and financial resources are concerned, a rising financial resource tide floats all boats. You recall the rumble in the jungle many moons ago in 1970 something. The reason why that was such a big deal is because of the tourism and the sports washing upside that comes with hosting such a big sports event. In 2025, by dint of Drive to Survive, and now the F1 movie, F1 is no different. There is a prestige that comes with hosting an F1 race, and that's why they're so desperate in Thai and South Africa to get one of those. Lewis Hamilton rubber stamping a cheeky F1 race in South Africa. Oh, and by the way, your main event, final topic on the docket, Nico Rosberg on the Sky F1 show, about which we spoke yesterday, has been harsh but fair about Ferrari. It is pressurised circumstances. They are struggling. The tenure of Frederick Vasseur is being questioned. Maybe he's outstayed his welcome already. John Elkann already obsessed with not just replacing him, but replacing him with one Christian Horner. Nico Rosberg on the Sky F1 podcast said the following, however, that Ferrari for the longest time, potentially because of Frederick Vasseur, potentially because of other circumstances included, that they haven't been operating at the highest level, the level that you'd expect from top tier teams in F1. Lewis said this over the course of the Canadian Grand Prix, did he not? He said that as far as the way that they work, the way they set up the car, it doesn't even make sense. I've been coming around Canada for the longest time. I've won a gazillion races around here. I'm a 7-time champion. This, says Lewis Hamilton, does not make sense. Nico Rosberg sees Sir Lewis that and raises him this. I've seen a little bit of the inner workings there at Ferrari, and you can see that the level of excellence that they're at is not comparable to British teams, and especially to someone like Mercedes in many areas, whether it goes from marketing to other areas. So, continues Nico Rosberg, one-time champion 2016, you can just see there the whole culture, the fact that they're in Italy, it makes a lot more difficult for them. For their example, at Mercedes, whenever Lewis had a thing, he would just go straight to Toto, and Toto would be able to make the decision, call the shot immediately, done, no haranguement, no bureaucratic red tape. Whereas, continues Nico Rosberg, at Ferrari, there's so many different decision makers, and even Lewis doesn't really know. Okay, if I ask him and he says yes, is it a goer? The other guy says no, he complains afterwards. What's going on? It takes too long to make a decision. As far as their organisational structure even, they are not live. There is no agile thinking at Ferrari. They are the Titanic. It takes 10,000 years just to right the ship. There's a couple ideas, Nico Rosberg continues, that I heard going around. I think Ferrari has been exploring to perhaps open a kind of subsidiary in the UK, because that's the F1 that's where the F1 ecosystem is. The best minds are always in Middle England, they say. I've heard rumours that they're also thinking about opening up a subsidiary in the UK. Oh, the humanity, a departure from historic precedent as far as Ferrari are concerned, they always base themselves out of Italy, Maranello, Fiorano settings. Nico continues, the problem then is just getting the communication right. If you do have a Ferrari entity in the UK, that's one thing, but it still needs to communicate awesomely with the headquarters, and then maybe it's just not possible to get the communication network. Well, the problem with that, Nico, is that it's a post-COVID era now. Do you know what I mean? There is Zoom. It's not Skype. It's Zoom, for Pete's sake. We're in 2025. Now, I know that Ferrari tried this back in the day, early 90s, and it didn't work. Well, that's because there was bloody no computers. As near as makes no difference. The internet wasn't a thing. We are in a new age, 2025, post-modern day era. For Pete's sake, do the right thing, Ferrari, to at least have a satellite in the UK. It just makes sense. Haas do it, Racing Bulls do it, so why not Ferrari? Okay, so it's a significant departure. Of course it is. They've never done it before, but if past this prologue, surely with a view to right this ship Titanic, to start making some decisions, to cut straight through the bureaucratic red tape, there is only one decision that needs to be made. Get it done. Ferrari, Scuderia, the red car with the yellow badge and black prancing horse atop. What are we doing? Yeah.